Welcome back for another 2 p.m. with the Trigger. Great to have you here on a Wednesday, middle of the week. And how's it going? You're probably juggling many things like I am. It's amazing how Mondays seem to be kind of mellow. And then by the middle of the week, you're scratching your head, wondering, how am I going to get it all done? Then by Friday, you're like, oh, the weekend. I hope you're having a great Wednesday. We got a great topic for today for our brief little time here together. Podcaster and producer, the host and the producer. It's a great conversation. As you grow your brand, as you grow your podcast through streaming content, your team is going to grow. It has to grow. You cannot do it alone because that's the nature of the beast. Otherwise, you will burn out, which is our topic tonight on How to Rock the Stage Show. But every day we're here to help you shine on camera, shine on stage, to elevate you and your brand better and better so that you are seen as a go-to expert. One thing you need to know as you become the go-to expert, your team is an extension of you. And they really need to be built that way. Now, you want to find people that are different. They have different talents, different gifts, but they really are an extension of you. And it's very important, especially if you're a TV host, a podcast host, if you are in that role of leading by being the main person on stage. Your producer is the next person in line that you need to have a very cohesive on camera, on stage relationship with. I cannot tell you how vital that is. In my 36 years of broadcasting, I have been privileged to both be host, producer, creator, but I've always had people on my team to help fill that out as well as it keeps growing and growing. Again, I host a lot of shows. I love hosting, making content shine, making other people shine when it comes to being on these stages. And the stages are ever changing. Some of these hosting I do are live in-person events. They're great. You get to be the MC, you get to be the guy on the couch, you get to interview people, you get to keep the energy going. And that's really important. But behind that even is a showrunner, is a producer that is making sure you're hitting the time, hitting the marks, whether they're in your ear, whether they're on a prompter in front of you. That relationship is so important. At the present time, I'm not just doing rock the stage things. I am producing and co-hosting for other individuals to help their brand grow and shine. I love partnering up with other people to be that supportive role. But let's get into why this is so important. You may not have thought about why the host and producer is so vital. The producer's role is to help the host shine and hit every mark. The producer's role is to make sure as you do a run of show, which we've talked about here before, that run of show is more in the hands of the producer than it is in the hands of the host once you say go, once you say live. So it's up to that producer to know as this show is moving forward, they need to hit this commercial break. And they have to find a way to cue you, whether it's through that earpiece again, whether it's through a different monitor that you can see as the host, and you'll go, okay, they're waving the 2-minute card at me, the 1-minute card at me, it's been done, or the back of the room card. If you're doing a live event, often you will have someone stand up and say 1 minute. And you know, as a host, even though you're talking and engaging with your guests, with the audience, you have to find a way to segue smoothly and transition into, let's take a moment to hear from our wonderful sponsor, blank. And you've probably seen this done horribly many times. You've probably seen people that they feel rushed. And now we got to get to this commercial. And it seems frantic. That's why the producer's role is to give heads up cues, to know in advance. It's also the producer's job to know you need to stretch it. We don't have enough here, boys. And the producer's job is to stretch it. Now, the fun that I get to have with producing is I'm always the extra guy on microphone. I get the opportunity to be the one that helps strengthen that thread, to keep the thread long enough to get to the next break, to get to the next guest coming on show. So many of the late night talk shows have had the main host. They've had their partner either on the couch or doing the music pit, and they're also the host. We've seen that done before. But there is a producer. And often that producer every so often will hit the microphone, jump on, and have fun with people. They're multitasking. It may seem like pure entertainment, but they are giving verbal cues and body cues to the host to make sure they're on target. It's a dance between the host and the co-host and that producer. But the producer, in the end of the night, this is where it gets kind of sticky here a little bit. The host might be the creator of the whole event. I wear that hat very often. I'm the creator, the host, the producer. But when I hand out someone else to produce my show, when I need to be 100% here, when I'm doing these summits, I have to be 100% here. I have to trust my producer 100% that they are going to guide me correctly because I cannot juggle all the balls. Is that possible for you? Are you able to hand it over to your producer and say, you got it? It's a complete trust thing because in the moment, you as a host, you may hear things and think of things, but the producer's got to keep you moving. You have to let them guide you to make sure the best show possible comes. Now, flip side of that, as a producer, you have to let your hosts do their thing. You have to let them come alive, do their shtick, tell their stories, do everything they can do to have this be very, very powerful. And that's where the dance comes in. There's a trust on both sides, and you can break that trust. But the host really is the Energizer Bunny. And sometimes the host will even realize this interview is going nowhere. I've seen it. I've done it. This interview, this interaction is not going anywhere that I want it to go. Now, I have other people I could bring on. So sometimes you, the host, will lead it to a wrap up, and the producer's got to catch your wrap up. There'll be that final question. Hey, final question of the night here. Before we let you go, the producer knows, that's not the plan yet, but we're going to do that, right? So you give them a heads up so they can do that. And that means the next guest gets more time. You may have a fill-in segment that's a backup. I always suggest you as a producer have a backup segment ready to go. It can be something that you know you can pull out and it's live interactive. It's something that can be used. It's additional content from a pre-recorded interview that you can bring back. But you need to have backup content because you're going to do this, and at times it's just not going to match up. I was just doing one of those type of events last week. I was playing the co-host and producer, and we had someone get sick the night before the event. So we knew that morning of, we had to fill time, but have be equal value in time to the other speakers that were coming on. And we could not slide them up because we were in different time zones. And we had already promoted here was going to be the segment. So it was better to just have the host and I work off camera, backstage early in the morning to make sure we knew what we were going to talk about, who was going to bring up what, and what bonus content would be of value to our listeners before we got back on track again. Now, that's a very symbiotic relationship. It's fun when you get that creative juices going between host and co-host and the producer role. That's the benefit of being the producer and the co-host. You have the ability to flex in both areas. If you do need to do those early morning adjustments or last minute show adjustments, I really encourage you to have your producer, your co-host, and the host all on together to do it well. But host or creators, I want to talk to you for a minute. If you're creating a show, if you're thinking about doing a new podcast, if you're launching something, intentionally work hard to find the producer. Don't just find anyone that can push buttons. That's really not going to do you any good. There's a lot of people that can just push buttons. All right. Way back in my radio days, I had a very good friend that was our producer, but he only came on for the weather updates. Okay. If there was tragic weather live during a sporting event, Bill would turn on the microphone and say, hey guys, we need to let you know about the weather now. But that was not his forte. He was not really an on-air microphone guy. Today, you need to have a producer that is able to jump on, have the same energy, have a great personality for the camera, for the mic. You aren't just picking a behind-the-scenes, off-air personality anymore. You are picking a partner that at any moment's notice can jump on with you. Now, be selective. Be intentional. Look at the chemistry. You don't have to be identical. This is the great thing about some of the partners I'm currently working with. We are not identical. There's age difference. There's male-female differences. There's life history differences. There's personality differences. But we can play off each other to add a greater value, content, and make it really exciting that way. So think about what you're doing as a podcaster, as a host, as a producer. These are relationships. And sometimes those relationships do not work out the way you thought. Whoever is the one really with the power and the authority running these shows, you need to jettison that person as fast as you can and get somebody else in, because the chemistry of your show is at risk. And fans, followers, listeners will not tune in if the chemistry is not shining through natural, easy, without hesitation. So think about those things. Tonight, we do have a great show coming up here on Rock the Stage night. Oh, actually, the book party. Yeah, we got to mention the book party. Thank you very much. See, producer, let me know. Coming up on the Rock Stage Book Launch Party next week, we are going to be talking about vehicle fleet management. It's an area that I don't know much about, but it's fascinating. We had Bill DeBoer on earlier this week talking about this on a 2 p.m. live. He manages people's fleets of vehicles, keep them maintained, keep them up to date, know how their maintenance is going, know how their safety checks are, and it takes the pressure off of a company to have someone else do all that for them, because the company's busy working with the clients and the other part of the industry. Join us next Tuesday night for our book launch party. It will be live streaming right on many of these other channels that we appear on every single day. And tonight on How to Rock the Stage, it will be about burnout. We have a great conversation planned with you with Baz and Lots. I'm not going to give you the real names yet. You got to come and join us tonight. We're going to go live at 7 o'clock Eastern time, and we're going to have a great conversation about burnout. It impacted one of them personally. It impacts many of us. And right now, as the growth of media and entertainment comes into our businesses, come into our life, one of the highest areas of burnout is in video production and editing. We'll talk about that tonight, how to change that, how to not be an impact in what you do and how you do it. Another big announcement, we do have the launch of the Rock the Stage Media podcast. The Rock the Stage Show podcast goes live tomorrow on Thursday, the 16th of February at 11 o'clock. Going forward, every Thursday, there will be a new show going live from the night before. Yep, we'll do Rock the Stage Live on Wednesday, Rock the Stage Show, the podcast. Thursday will premiere less than 24 hours after the live feed. So you get the video version, the audio version, take it with you. And we're going to be uploading past episodes as well. So you get the backlog of shows that you may never have heard or known about. And when we're done with this, watch the thread. I'm going to drop it in the thread, and you'll be able to get a link to join one of our channels. Hit that subscription button, join it, and never miss another podcast for How to Rock the Stage Show. Again, if you have any questions for me, if you want to learn better how to rock the stage, ask me questions about the producer, about the host roles. Maybe you're ready to push out. Maybe you're ready to go to that next level, but you're not sure what you really should do next to keep it glued together well. Contact me, rich@richbontrager.net, or always go visit rockthestagemedia.com. And of course, you'll learn more about the podcast there as well. Hey, until tomorrow, it's the Trigger, Rich Bontrager, saying so long for now. We'll see you at 2 p.m. with the Trigger live.